Please note, this session is being recorded.
It's something like that.
So Darshan is everything. Okay, he's a pharmacist. He's an attorney. He won't say he specializes in clinical research, but pretty much does. But he'll give a disclaimer that he doesn't. And a great stock picker as well. I mean, Chris, I was talking about Darshan earlier. I don't want to say it. Now we're recording, so I'm not going to put you on blast. But Darshan knows what he's doing. If you want to talk about it, go ahead. But yeah, he's got some good positions.
So what are you doing?
I like to say that I learn from the Safara and the Sauber. That's how I live my life.
Really? Because from the Sauber, you'll learn about your Second Amendment rights. We got a closet full of that.
Well, I mixed that up with learning from the Rock on Baller. But yeah, there's that.
Good.
Very nice.
It's a good combination.
Sherry, Darshan is somebody you got to get to know.
He's in the neighborhood. When the curtain's lifted, we'll grab coffee.
Sherry, I have no idea where you are, though. All I know is you're in the neighborhood. Is that Connecticut? Is that Maine, Miami? Was that?
I'm a country girl.
I didn't catch that.
Where are you breaking up, Sherry? What kind of mic are you using? Most days you're crystal clear. What's going on?
I also think Rod is looking like he has the wrong camera being used.
Yeah, Rod, I like your desk.
I know, but I can't get it to turn around. It's showing the front of my desk.
Bottom. No, I'm outside of Philly. I used to live over in Bluebell.
I heard Bluebell, so I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't live near Bluebell anymore?
Hold on, I'm going to check this.
Sherry's been in this industry for a while, and now she's like CRO, helping sites, all kinds of stuff.
Cool.
So I'm going to leave it like this. That way it won't be like the last time where my screen was moving all over the place. And
yeah, but that got us way more views, Rod. When you show your handsome face, we get more views.
Uh-huh.
Rod's a good guy, too. Owns a site in Indianapolis. Been doing this for a while. He actually equates what's going on right now with coronavirus to the HIV and AIDS epidemic and hysteria in the 80s and actually early 90s, right?
Early 80s.
Early 80s, wow.
Well, 85.
Yeah.
I was 3, so I can't really go there.
Well,
and I wasn't in this country, so there's that.
Really? So when did you immigrate to the U.S.?
96.
Wow, I always assumed you were born here, man.
Sometimes I'm born with it, sometimes it's Maybelline.
I mean, most people don't know I was born in Romania too. I wasn't born in the U.S. We moved here when I was 3.
Dude, so I'm looking at you. I'm totally thinking Rasputin right now.
Yeah, right. What about Vlad the Impaler?
I don't know. I'm not looking at you impaling anything yet. The beard's definitely got me down the Rasputin route.
Dude, the beard is, I was keeping it trim like before this happened. And, of course, can't go now. So who knows?
Here's what I'm thinking. I think you should go down the whole meme route. You're like, that's the only thing you haven't done?
No. Did you see my jujitsu thing? You should like this.
I did
oh,
see
you did?
the
Okay.
Who was that now?
That's me. I don't know who the body is.
That's me the body. I knew your face, but...
Yeah. Maybe we could use your old jujitsu pictures, and then I'll put my face on it, so like it looks like I'm badass.
Well, you're already badass. I
Thank
actually don't think I have any judo fighting pics.
Oh, you did judo. That's right. I always confuse those two.
Well, I did like a year of jiu-jitsu. I did a year of jiu-jitsu, and I remembered why I hate going on the ground.
Okay, I got it. Hey, so you know what? And I see Monica. How's it going, Monica? What are you doing? Monica's busy with CRC Academy students. You know what? I think I have time to join your class today, Monica, at 4. Oh, come on. Oh, 3:30.
Well, you might be late.
Hey, you're muted. You're muted, Monica.
How come everybody else is
Sorry.
putting a show?
Hi.
I can't tell if Chris just doesn't talk, or I mean, Chris usually doesn't talk.
He's on mute.
I can't tell if Chris is frozen or doesn't talk.
Exactly. Just quiet, silent, and just looking.
So, guys, what's new? Sherry, how's your audio situation going?
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, but I don't know. It seems like still a little bit strange.
All right, hold on.
Seems rather odd because we got to make this connection between you Pennsylvania people. You know, there's not enough of you guys doing big things in the industry. You're always overshadowed by New York, and we have to. Yeah, you got to fix that.
Our logic is very simple. We don't want New York prices, but we want access to New York and DC. So we're like 2 hours from each.
Okay, fair enough. Not bad. I like Philly. Philly's cool.
There we go.
Hey, Rod. Oh my God.
There we go.
Views just skyrocket. Ratings just skyrocketed. It's like higher ratings than Trump's press briefings.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I have
Okay, how
How did he broke Facebook with his latest press briefings?
What's that?
Didn't Trump just come out and say that he broke ratings on Facebook based on his press briefing?
He said he got Monday Night Football numbers. That's what he said.
I don't want to get political at all. That's not the point. But I just
We're getting like an echo.
Yeah, I got an echo from somebody. Okay, it got better. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Someone probably muted
them. Okay, Sherry. I think I hear Sherry.
All right. I don't know what's wrong with this speaker. Usually it works very well.
Yeah, usually it works great. I don't know what's going on. Maybe call in. If there's you see the number down there, just try that.
No, I called in, and that's what started that feedback echo.
Oh yeah, because you gotta put volume down on your computer.
I did, and it just was going nuts. So, oh well.
Yeah, these things.
You gotta turn the mic off too. The mic mic has to be turned off on your computer and the volume turned down.
I did. I think it's just because
Sherry's a seasoned vet. I mean, she knows all the tricks. You know, just something's not working with any meeting right now. Who knows? But yeah. So Trump said he's got a Monday Night Football numbers. I haven't watched since week 1 of this lockdown because it's always the same thing. But guys, it's very interesting what's going on in research. Darshan, I don't know what you're seeing on your end because you're kind of doing well. Like, what are you doing right now? How are you keeping yourself busy during this?
So a lot of the clients that I'm getting right now are more general counsel type clients, and it's really helping companies who basically getting them registered to do work in multiple states. I'm doing things where I'm sort of your basic CDAs, NDAs, MSAs, that kind of stuff, keeping companies running steadily, and becoming like a place that people can run things off of. Because I find a lot of companies just need an adult in the room to talk to them, to guide things. That way they can keep their costs low or just offload things that they don't want to deal with. So that becomes a big thing for me. I've got another company is a medical device company, and I'm helping them with some clinical research, promotional compliance. I've got another client who is it's a client of a client who is a huge sponsor, and I'm working with them on clinical trial transparency. So what is the latest and greatest in putting out your clinical research data? So that's become a huge thing. It's a multi-million-dollar thing for companies, multi-billion-dollar thing if you go across the industry, because they're trying to figure out, okay, you're talking about patient centricity. You're talking about how do you get patients access to the stuff that they've participated in. Do they have a right to that? I don't know if you've been following that area at all, but it's
when I hear patient centricity, I just stop listening. It's like
tell me why.
It's just a buzzword. Like, it's been thrown around, and I don't see any changes at the site level where all the patient interaction is going on. So, yeah.
I actually agree with you 100%. I feel like it's a buzzword that people are not really taking as seriously as they should. And you're seeing companies that are saying that we want to engage with patients both at a clinical trial level and at a promotional compliance level. So there are two different places, right? So you may not be seeing it because you're looking at them from a site subject perspective.
Right, strictly that, yes.
Correct.
But you
The
know,
problem with that is, go ahead, Monica.
no, sorry, I interrupt. Just finish,
Oh.
and then I say.
So the big thing again when we were dealing with this with the client was how do you do clinical research transparency with the site when you don't actually know the patients? Because by default they would be blinded, and that becomes a huge problem. So we've been trying to figure out that sort of nut to crack. One of the answers we came up with was, well, theoretically you know subject numbers, so you could do per subject. Here's what it looks like. Maybe not. Another angle is to say you log in and we'll connect your information. We won't know what it is, but you'll be connected through your own sort of database. There are some discussions like, have you heard of Blue Button?
No, what's that?
So that's an
I love
HHS
having
thing.
you on. Like you're exposed to like the opposite side of research that we, most of us are. This is great to have you on.
You're always kind, and I appreciate it. But no,
Darshan,
yes,
I want to ask you something.
yeah.
The people that does develop this you say platforms, and I mean in order to get this information and to get closer, I mean to help this patient centricity, do they actually know how sites work? Do they actually know how research, I mean how to read the protocol and how things are? Because
So generally
yeah,
speaking, they know their world and they know what they do right. They don't know how you do your work because number one, how you work is slightly different from how Rod works, and it's slightly different from any other side. But yes, please continue.
but I understand that. But what happened is, how are you going to improve something that you don't even know? So
So
that's what happened. That's what happened. Because no, honestly, I'm just saying that because somebody that does that part of the job actually approached us not so long ago, and she wanted to learn the side perspective because she had no idea, and in order to help the CRO where she worked, and so she wanted to go to the site and see how things work, and how actually read properly the protocol. And we actually spent with her 2 days, and we gave her like a crash course on that. And then she said that after doing that, she actually could actually do her job better just because she understood everything else. Because that's, I mean, I think if you don't know how the sites and how to even read the protocol in that, if you're doing that job, how are you going to do it without knowing that?
So two parts to that. So number one, you're assuming that patient centricity means at the clinical trial site level. It doesn't necessarily mean that, like I said, promotional is also a huge piece of patient centricity, right? How do you engage with patients, which is once the product is being sold. But in either scenario, you always have advisory boards. So these advisory boards are often with your PIs, and your PIs will come. They'll be sort of you'll sit around a table and talk and say, "This is something we want to do. What do you think?" And then they'll be like, "Oh, this won't work for XYZ reasons. This won't work for ABC reasons." So you may not have them at your site, but they'll often take people from your site and put them back into the sponsor. Now, having said that, how much does your PI know about how your site works? That's a different discussion.
Exactly. Well, we
But
actually offer here a customized class for the whole team to kind of give them the perspective. Yeah, I think that's what we were discussing before. That's kind of bringing both worlds in one place, because we can learn from you and you can learn from us.
absolutely.
So,
So do you pay them too?
sorry.
Well, you said you can learn from them and they can learn from you. Do you pay them as well?
No, we actually created I mean, we can create the customized class for you, but we never got the offer from the opposite part.
Yeah, yeah. No, I actually, that's why one of the things I admire Dan about is, as I'm sure everyone else on this call knows, he's run sites forever, but he went and worked with, what was it, as a CRA for a CRO?
Yeah,
I'm
still doing that. Yeah, I'm helping a Korean CRO do some U.S. monitoring here in California.
But that's kind of valuable, right?
Yeah, get
And
my
that gives
hands
you that
dirty.
perspective.
Like it gives you opposite perspective. Even if you like when I've been doing the site thing, and then I see the CRA come in, like prior to me monitoring, I always assumed the CRA is there to try to find something, like find some dirt on me, like
Right.
try to like a police. And after I started monitoring, I realized, yeah, there's some like that, but most of them are just trying to complete their report, and they're asking you these things because they have to put it in their report. It's not like they're trying to catch you on something. So like
Right.
my mentality kind of changed since I've been monitoring. I have more respect for monitors now that I actually am doing
Now,
it. Now. Absolutely. I empathize more. I guess not respect, but more empathy for them.
and both technically. I mean, it's one of those things that's what I discovered when I worked with the FDA. They went from being the boogeyman to me to becoming, look, they're trying to do a job. Their job is to protect patients. And you know what? We're the people working with these patients. So their job is to make sure that we do our job right. So however if we can help them get there, that's a good thing. So and yeah, you feel the number one feeling all of us have is being defensive because I do my job. Are you telling me I'm doing it wrong? And that should make anyone defensive. But depending on how you can structure it, hopefully you can come to a place where you can respect what they're doing, they can respect what you're doing, and you come to the right side, which is in the interest of the patients. Now, is that patient centricity? I'm not sure necessarily that's always the case because there's hopefully a different definition around patient centricity. But yeah, it's reminiscent of I did a whole for DNA and bio and stuff. I've done these talks around negotiating CTAs. I was just on the call with Norm from Magi, and we were talking about CTA negotiations. And the big thing there is it's illuminating. I mean, I've worked in all three different places. I've worked with CRO, I've worked on behalf of sites, and worked on behalf of sponsors. And the it's very different how you approach the same problem because in the end, you just want something that's fair. The problem is that the definition of fair changes depending on where you are. So
That's true. Very true. And
Totally
not to
true.
mention vendors, right? Like you can throw in
Yeah.
vendors into that same equation, which by the way, in like 2022 or 2024, I don't know when, soon, more than half of all clinical trial budgets are going to be spent on vendors, right?
Oh, is
Which
that
is
right? I hadn't seen that number before.
crazy. More than half of clinical trial spending will be spent on vendors.
But
Not
here's my real question, right? So my question is, with COVID doing what it's doing, people are now talking about sightless studies. Have you
right.
heard that term before? Yeah.
Of course.
Okay.
We've
So
all
what's
heard
your
this
take?
term before. It's like hearing about a unicorn. Like, yeah, it exists somewhere in someone's mind. Look, pharma's like the most hated group. I mean, who's more hated than pharma in the world?
Tobacco.
Okay, probably tobacco, maybe insurance, and then pharma's top 5 easily.
I mean, with Mr. Sauber in the room, the guns might be right up there.
Mm.
Hmm.
This is where
Maybe.
he closes his mouth.
Maybe with a capital M. We don't know, but they're
I
not.
don't know.
They're not well liked by the general public. So,
I'll tell you who's more hated: lawyers.
okay, maybe. Again, another maybe.
Or
So,
politicians. I can name a few, as you can tell.
so sightless trials.
Yeah.
Okay, they're gonna have to answer to me how they're gonna get patients in these studies because, and maybe coronavirus helps this because now clinical research is kind of like main headlines now. Like people understand more about this, but that's because we're in a pandemic. It's still not necessarily associated with something good. It's associated with something that we need. Before coronavirus, if you tell the average Joe Sixpack, hey, you want to do a clinical trial? He's gonna say, hell no, man, I don't want to be a guinea pig. That's like 99% of the answers you're gonna get, unless it's from oncology, where they really have no other choices, and they're a little more educated on what's next because they have to be. So we're relying on the sites not just to do the study, obviously that's a huge component of it, but it's to educate their patients. Like, the physicians, the clinicians bring in their patients. Hey, I'm the PI of this study, so you can trust me, you can trust the study. And I don't see siteless trials anywhere near being ready to convince patients to do these virtual trials.
But do you think that you could see a scenario where they start at a site and then telemedicine sort of takes over and they come in, instead of coming in 10 times, they come
Yes.
in twice?
Yes, hybrid virtual trials. Yes, we're
That
actually
would be
working on
soon.
something right now. Yeah, we're working on something right now for that. So sending the nurses, phlebotomists to the patient's
Right.
home, but you still have a site, and those patients still belong to that site. Like, they're not getting referred to that study because some pharma paid an influencer somewhere to do a campaign. That's not how they're getting these patients.
Well, what happens? Well, I'm not sure necessarily you could do it that way because you still need a PI in the end, right? So,
Right.
so to a certain extent, that'll always be the case. But it's just, what level of virtuality do you go for?
Whatever makes sense, and then here's the patient centricity I like. I mean, let's make this easier on the patients. Like, you don't have to travel 2 hours to come to the clinic. You can do
Right.
this. Maybe you'll come once or twice, but most of your visits can be done virtually. Like, to me, that's true patient centricity.
So here's my question: what is the biggest? You talk about how clinical trials are in the news. What is the biggest misconception you've seen on Facebook or Twitter based on clinical research?
Oh, that you're a guinea pig, and that you're crazy if you do these things. You're like a conspiracy theorist almost. Like, they put you in the
No, but
same
I mean on Facebook because of coronavirus.
on
Okay,
Facebook because of coronavirus.
Yeah,
That they are promising that this is going to be super quick. That is
I agree.
happening like
That's a
this.
big one.
Yeah, we have a medicine right now, just for everybody. And the pharmaceutical companies are just there to make money and just nothing else. Like, it's just like it shows the pharmaceutical industry like cold hearted completely. I mean,
Right.
not that it's the warmest industry in the world, but still, like it shows like it's only about money and that's it, and everybody's competing. So it's like they want to intoxicate the whole world. Kind of. That's what I have been perceiving. I don't know.
No, I
Well,
think
the
that
last
is
couple
about.
of days, there's been a narrative about how the drugs don't work and the studies are being stopped. You see a
Repeat
lot
that,
of
Brad.
that.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat that?
In the
I
last
said
couple of days,
ban.
I've seen a lot of people saying that these drugs don't work. They're making people too sick, and that they're stopping these studies, like the malaria tablets and the one from Gilead. So there's a lot of that on Facebook right now too.
Yeah, you see a lot of that as well.
But they can't really know yet what these medications are doing, right?
You can to a certain extent, but not to the extent people are expecting. I'm agreeing with you. I thought it was fascinating because I'm seeing a lot of people, like a couple months ago, people were suddenly like First Amendment right experts, and everyone is suddenly a constitutional law expert, and they could tell me like what should Neil Gorsuch be saying or Trump be saying, and that's illegal. I'm like, I need to look into that. I'm not sure how you know so confidently, and I do First Amendment law. That's possible. And then you'll get these same people suddenly they're quoting these different people and going, this is how clinical research should be done. We'll talk about hydroxychloroquine. We'll talk about these other drugs and how it's going to cure things. We need research. We don't really know. But to the extent we do, you need the studies to back them up. And yes, some of them may be based on smaller patient sizes. Some of them may be initial proof of concept, but that's the process you follow. The problem
Yeah, but
is
we don't really know what we're doing. We have to listen to the WHO.
we don't have to.
Well, that's what they're saying now.
Well, you might say that might be a thing. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. Yeah, that might be one of the other things that people are like suddenly the WHO is the most important health body in the world. I'm like, WHO is valuable. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to take away from that, but it doesn't. You can't even get a single place in the U.S. to be the place that's followed. Why would you say that the WHO is suddenly the world's most important health body? But yeah, I'm with you, Rod. I agree. But yeah, sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to take up the.
No,
the
that's good.
On the other hand, I also think that because of all this exposition right now of the pharmaceutical industry, people start understanding that in order to get treatment, there is a huge need on doing pharmaceutical research. So it's being like good and bad for the industry, but it's getting a lot of exposition out there, and people is kind of knowing, oh, okay, so if we don't have research, then there is no drug or treatment, or
But here's my question: do you think that that's going to change once the pandemic's over?
I think at least people will get more knowledge about it just because it's ingrained in their heads now. Just because we got the exposition about it. So right now, if we start doing more videos and educating more people about it, I guess it's going to finally gain a little bit more of a positive. It's never going to be positive completely, but it's going to be at least more, a little bit more positive, and people will understand more about it. Because the thing is, the population in general, they just see the medication when it's ready, but they don't really know what's behind it, how many years of research, all the work that is behind the science of getting that treatment available. And also a lot of people don't understand that the medication that is in research is not is better, or is, I don't know if I should say this, but is a more advanced technology than what it is already in the market.
I think
So it's interesting to say that the FDA is not a huge fan of people saying more advanced technology. Just so you know.
Yeah,
and
I
I
know,
think
that's why I say it. I didn't know if I should say that. But what's the purpose of a company, of a pharmaceutical organization, to expend all this money in some new medication if they think it's going to be less than what it is outside, or equal? I don't see the purpose of that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the meme. I was taking this breast cancer class on Coursera, which is amazing, by the way. Coursera is fantastic. Uh, and it was they talked about clinical research in it, and they had a meme. I can't find it, but it basically said, that you have these two cancer patients talking, and one is saying, "Hey, did you hear this new study showing promising results?" And the other person saying, "Yes, are you going to join it?" And the other guy says, "No, why would I ever do that?" I think that's the problem in like a comic, like in a meme, with the public perception of clinical research, even for oncology, which you have like the most motivated patients.
So here's a question: how many of you guys would actually join the clinical trial?
I joined one online, but it's not a real one. It's
No, a clinical trial. A clinical trial.
I did before I knew anything about clinical trials. This was
Okay. And now would you?
25 years ago.
Would you do it
even I
now?
don't know this. Wow, that's good. We need to talk more about that.
I was actually planning on joining one when I had my allergy really bad, and I looked everywhere, everywhere, and I made a lot of phone calls, but I didn't find any that suits my my allergy back then. But I think, if nothing in the market is working, why not?
So that's an interesting concept. The only time you would go to a clinical trial is if nothing in the market is working.
Actually, no. I will actually join a clinical trial.
You're messing with a lawyer. You're messing with a
Yeah, I
lawyer,
know.
And then we had
Be
Chris.
careful what you say.
And then you had Chris who said, I did it 25 years ago. How long have you been in the clinical trial industry, Chris?
Well, and I would do a clinical trial if I saw some sort of benefit potentially, right?
So you'd only do it if there's a benefit.
Correct. So
And what
I
kind of
would
benefit?
never participate in a healthy normal trial. Never. I'm not healthy normal. I'm neither healthy nor normal, but I would never participate in one of those trials. There's no way. You couldn't pay me enough.
So, and what about you, Jesselyn? I noticed you didn't even raise your hand for the question.
Sure, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, hello everyone. I have not, primarily because I had the horrible mindset of clinical trial, like you've all mentioned, to where I was scared to be the guinea pig. But now that I'm in, I'm getting more knowledge about it. I'm willing to be a part of it, but then I don't really have a lot of, thank the Lord, sicknesses that I can participate
Oh, there are
in.
lots of loads of phase 1 studies we can put you into.
So that's
Dan,
my only option.
A lot,
But then
yeah, we're getting
I'm back
phase
to
one
the, I
studies.
don't want to be a guinea pig. So, but that's my challenge for 2020, to join one, just so that when I do my patient recruitment, I can have that whole shared experience with them. But yeah, that's on my to-do list.
You can do that study where for healthy and normal where they'll put coronavirus in you and then see what
Oh,
happens, right?
oh, that's great. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Oh my God. Or you can take the class of the guy that is a professional patient. Remember the
Which
class I
one?
was mentioning yesterday? The guy that have the class in this platform that is he's
Oh
teaching.
yeah, there's Sean. Monica found this course on Udemy, which
Yes.
it's like Coursera, and she's looking for clinical research stuff to learn more about because she's very proactive with her career. But she found one where it's like basically this guy teaching people how to qualify for these healthy volunteer studies, and he's saying, "Hey, you can make all this money. Pay me $12 an hour. I'll teach you everything." Maybe that's patient centric. I don't know.
That's like a crash course. Is 101 how to
No,
become a professional patient.
There are two problems with that. First of all, that person who's joining is not even a patient because you're healthy at that point.
Yeah.
So when
your
you're a
patient
healthy volunteer, you're not a patient in a study if you're in a study?
No,
well,
you're
a
a
patient is
subject.
somebody with a desire to be treated.
Okay, I gotcha.
So one of the big arguments in bioethics is, are the people who are enrolling in clinical studies, are they subjects or are they patients? And the
They're
truth is
subjects.
that exactly why subjects versus patients?
Because it's not a approved to be
Treatment.
treatment yet.
You're
Correct.
not treating
if
them
you
with
really
standard
are
care.
patient, then you should be probably having a physician-patient relationship. By definition, you're not. Now, here's the question. If you don't have a physician-patient relationship because you have no reasonable perspective that you might get treated, is Monica even right that I should probably join the study because I have nothing else out there that might help if you have no reasonable expectation of getting better?
Well, I mean, it happens in oncology all the time, right? This is
It
why.
does, but the risk-benefit is very different to an allergy study, which is what she discussed.
Right.
Wow.
You know,
Hey, Rod, let me see. Can you? I think you're muted. Let me see. Yeah, Rod, you're muted. Rod Raphael. Rodney, you're muted too, but I don't know if you're trying to talk.
Of course I am. No, I said that's why we don't have lawyers at the site level.
Feeling the love here. I'm feeling the love.
So, Sean, you're welcome back every day.
Hey, I do want to ask a serious question though. You mentioned about sites and virtual studies. So if you do the visits virtually and the sponsor sends somebody to the house to do the physical and the blood work and all of that, where does that leave the site?
Where does it leave the site? Collecting the money, right?
It leaves the site to.
I think the site has to coordinate everything.
I mean,
because
you're still the one like having to manage the protocol. Like just because you have a vendor that's going to the site instead of drawing blood, or going to the patient's home instead of drawing blood at the site. I mean, you still have these visit windows. You still have time frames that things need to be done in. You still have inclusion exclusion criteria. That's all done by the site.
But
But the
I'll,
site's
I'll
budget,
add on to that, though, Dan.
the
I'll
site's
add on to
budget
what
is going to
Rod
diminish because of that.
Wait,
Sorry,
what?
Chris, can you repeat that?
So the site's budget is going to diminish because of that.
We
Well,
don't know.
that's the question.
I would
Well,
say
I
it
would
will.
disagree
I'm
with
seeing IQVIA's budget.
Well, what if you went a different direction? You said
Put them
budget
on
would be
blast.
good?
It's only the internet,
no,
guys.
I actually think this will open up the opportunity to do more studies and quicker. So instead of doing like one study that lasts forever and you get paid more, but at the same time,
That's the optimistic
instead of
argument.
doing that, they will be shorter, and then the opportunity to do more studies and to reach rural patients and rural, stuff. So
So
I
I'm trying
guess it will give the money, but different way by doing more studies.
here and answer Rod's question. So Rod's concern as a site owner is the budget, I would assume. And again, I already put them on blast as Dan put it, but IQVIA, I saw their budget for one of their one of these studies.
We're
and
not
it was-
editing this. You know that, right?
It was $300 a completed patient for the site.
Right. But see, here's the argument for that, though, because we actually talked to IQVIA about this. They said these are studies that they're doing now because of technology that they would otherwise have never been able to do. And they're not taking away from anything else that they're planning. So they're just making the pie bigger. Supposedly they're making the pie bigger. And it's actually helping some research naive physicians maybe get their first experience under their
Absolutely.
belt, right? But
Absolutely.
the danger is, I know, because I'm there with you guys too. Like, okay, if this starts working really well, what do they do to the sites? I don't know.
then
Luckily,
they have this as the main source.
but let's use leverage. Let's use jujitsu. Let's use the fact that people hate pharma. I don't think that's going to happen. People love their doctors.
Yeah, and
People hate
they
pharma.
still need to have that like close relationship, with or the rapport with the site or the study coordinator and the doctor
Yeah, but
that
if
they
you're
don't have
again,
if it's only
not all
medical.
patients know the physician that's running the study. So if they bring in one, say 5 physicians to run the study that do the virtual visits, they knock that out too.
But they still need the connection with the study coordinator with the site in some kind of personal. I mean, I don't think that's replaceable.
And getting
Would
the
you do
patients.
something like it's just virtual? And if you don't have any type of information about how research work, I don't know. I mean, I think the industry will have to do a huge or draconian work on building a very good reputation in order for that to happen.
I think it's all replaceable except for what Dan mentioned, getting patients. I think it's all replaceable.
I could see it on your face, Chris. You were thinking exactly what I was thinking.
All replaceable except for getting patients. That's the only aspect we can't overcome.
I don't
Exactly.
know
Here's
that
the
I.
question. What
I
if
don't
you
know
actually
that I
moved
would-
away? Go ahead.
What was that?
We got Sherry. Sherry wants to say
Can you
something.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I fixed it. So I don't know that we can take away the human factor in research. I don't think that it can be distanced enough to that point
Can't see
because
you,
I
Dan.
think they're. Pardon me.
No, then go ahead, Sherry.
Because I not in all studies, but I think it holds true when it's a disease indication. You need that human factor, that engagement. And part of, I think, some of the reasons that you see patients going in disease indications into clinical trials is they're scared, they've run out of options, and they want that human contact. They want somebody who's going to support them and say, we will try. We're not giving up on you.
But can I
Sherry,
human
you know
contact?
who Banks used to say that, you'd never be able to get ATMs to work. because people want to talk to their teller. They want to know that they're getting the right money in their hands.
Well, you can say the same thing about Amazon.
I'm sorry?
Amazon?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Same thing with
People won't
Blockbuster.
ever shop online because they want to be able to see and touch and feel and look at
Same
what they're
thing with
buying.
People don't care that much.
You know,
Here's
when,
the version that, here's my thing. Here's what I think the future could look like, which is some people, let's say a Dan Safara owns, say, a site network, and the site network has patients, and he basically hires sites to find patients. He has a single location that manages those patients, but the sites basically become recruitment locations, while the management of the study happens from a different location.
Mhm.
That might be a more likely sort of consolidation and centralization. So you need
Yeah.
fewer people to do the same amount of work.
Mhm. I actually worked on a study where it was sort of a similar. We had, and this goes back quite a few years, but they were allowing the patients to be treated at their local physician with the arm of drug that was a standard of care, and that they only had to come in for a research visit very infrequently to the clinical site. That worked well. That worked
Here's my
very
question,
well.
though. How would you know it's the standard of care, though? Wouldn't it be
Because
blinded?
it was a standard of care for that disease. That it was an oncology. It was standard of care for AML, MDS, if I remember correctly.
But it
And
wasn't blinded.
they weren't blinded. No, no. Each
Okay.
patient was getting. They were getting IP, which was oral, so that IP could be shipped to them, and they didn't have to travel the 4 hours one way to go to the site to go get
Right.
the infusion that was already approved in standard of care for that disease process. That worked well.
Yeah.
it's possible. I mean, I think we're gonna have elements of this creeping in. And at some point, maybe we're closer to sightless trials. I mean, you can argue we're closer to sightless trials when you have study assessments being done at the patient's homes. But it doesn't mean it's a complete virtual trial. They call those hybrid virtual. But the site, somebody still has to coordinate. Somebody still has to do inclusion, exclusion for their subjects, maintain safety oversight. Sponsors don't even want to do those things. That's too much liability. They're not going to do that. CROs are not
That's
going to
not
do that.
true. I disagree with you, Dan. Sponsors are happy to do that. The problem is they can't get to the patients. They're happy to look at all of those things. The issue has just been I don't have access to those patients. So if you're telling me that someone else can find those patients and I can still manage them, I'd probably be pretty happy with that.
So pharma would be allowed to manage the patient care, like patient in the study.
Well, so pharma
no,
wouldn't.
that's a conflict.
So no, pharma wouldn't for multiple reasons. Number one, pharma is not in that business. Number two, pharma is not in the cannot practice medicine. It has to be a physician that does that. But having said that, they might just jump over CROs, and they might say, you know what, I'm going to connect with a SMO of some kind, and the SMO can recruit patients using their site network.
Right.
And you guys manage that, but I don't need a CRO to do that. So it all comes down to who has the greatest network of patients. To me, as you pointed out a few minutes ago, whoever has the most patients wins.
Oh, of course.
The problem you have, though, Dan, is what happens when you are talking about CCPA. Do you know what that is?
No.
So have you heard of GDPR?
GDUFA?
No, not GDPR. GDPR.
No, I don't know what that
Privacy
is.
law. So there's a privacy law in Europe. In May 2018, we all started getting these emails saying there are all these new laws from Europe. You agree to let us have your data, don't you? You're okay with that kind of stuff. What happened was California said that's a really good idea. And they said, we too want to have a version of GDPR. So if you meet California's requirements, you aren't allowed to control patient data, subject to HIPAA and stuff like that. But the point being, you guys aren't necessarily, depending on how it's set up, subject to HIPAA because you aren't technically engaged in the practice of medicine. So are you a covered entity or not becomes a whole question and sites start falling into that sort of hazy ground, depending on what you're doing with
Yeah.
data.
Yeah.
Right. So the question then is, if you're subject to CCPA, can you control access to that many patients' information, that much patient information? So the idea becoming, how do you recruit patients in California if you can't have that list of patients?
Right. Yeah, I mean that's
No idea what I mean. You lost me.
no, even more reason why we need the more research naive PIs to do research. You know,
Why?
physicians.
How would that help?
Research naive physicians to do research
No, I
because
got that.
you know
How
they
would that
have
help?
because they treat the patient, so they have the list. They don't need to worry about these kind of things.
Right. But I don't think whether it's research naive or not, that wouldn't change whether
Well,
the list
research
of
naive because we're exhausting the patients from the existing PIs.
from that.
Yeah.
But the question is really, where are these patients? So what you're seeing more often, that you're seeing that trend die off. So probably about 7 years ago, the hottest thing was rare diseases.
Right.
Probably about 3 years ago, the hottest thing was oncology, and now that's dying off a little bit. But what you're starting to see is patients coming more and more into scenarios where where you're treating smaller disease states and more a smaller patient population. So knowing where those patient populations are is incredibly hard. And what you're seeing is multiple different variants. One is reaching out to the sites and asking them, "Do you have these patients?" But that's a little bit of a scattershot approach.
Right.
The version I've seen is reaching out to insurance companies and saying, "Are you paying for this?" And then they'll go, "We have patients who are being treated for this based on these different HCPCS codes or whatever it is in these different locations." So you can then go recruit in those locations, and that becomes a lot easier to do. Now the question is, if you know where the patients are, you know what you're trying to recruit. Do you really need to do it at a site, or can you do it saying, "You're a patient in this area. If you're interested in participating in the study, call Sacramento, even though you are in San Diego." I have no idea how far away those two cities are, but I'm assuming they're
Pretty
close
far. I mean, it's like an hour and a half plane flight.
Right.
My point then stands exactly that way. Do you really need to be that close? Because you found the patient. That was the hard part.
Well,
Yeah.
easily enough, you can go through SEER data in some indications and look for where the patient population is the highest. That's an excellent resource. I mean, but we all know enough. If you're going to be treating for triple negative breast cancer, you're not going to be going to the far reaches of Vermont. You're going to be in Atlanta and Louisiana and New Orleans. You're going to be in New York City, because it primarily is heavily bound in African American females.
You may be right. I'm just trying to figure out the point you're making right now. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm just saying there are other ways, to look for the data other than going to an insurance company and looking for your patient population. And
No,
Dan
I'm
and I
agreeing.
talked.
I was talking about rare disease states.
Right. And Dan and I talked. There's you can go to it's IMS Health and buy their prescribing data for a certain medication that only a certain patient population would be taking. Find out where the highest scripters are.
You can. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that doesn't tell you. So that tells you who's prescribing. That's why you'd go advertise, like a really simple thing to do. I'm surprised more people aren't doing it. I'm going to give you guys a freebie idea to advertise to find patients.
Good. We need this.
I'm writing down now.
Yes.
Yeah, hold on there a second. Let me write this down.
Damn.
Hold on, I'm taking a note.
To her all.
Type it up in the chat.
Turns out we've all been doing this the whole time, but a really simple thing to do is go, okay, you know what? I know Dr. Smith's patients who are, let's say I work for Dr. Jones, and Dr. Smith's patients have a lot of the patients that I need. All you could do is put a geofence around his location and then have targeted Google ads going to those patients saying, I want people who are HER2 negative patients, and it just pops up for them. And now you're advertising to those patients. It's a focused ad and they'll go, "Oh,
Yeah.
I'll have it," and I'll come to Dr. Jones and sign up for the study.
I kind of did that with one Alzheimer's study where I
Okay.
target where all these patients with this population was
No,
living.
but you targeted the patients. Did you geofence it?
No, I target the patient because
That,
some doctors are not very open to, to
that's why.
participate.
But that's why you don't need to target the doctors. You need to just geofence it. Do you know what geofencing is?
Geofencing is like doing
No.
an advertisement where you just pick a certain area to
Correct.
advertise.
Okay, so that's what I did.
Like
I
a
did.
2 mile radius. I don't
I
know the
sent,
smallest radius you can do,
I
but I
sent,
think it's like 2 miles.
we sent advertisement directly to these patients.
But how would you know, for example, that your patients have the disease? You couldn't know that. So the only
No.
way to do that is to say people are going to this location. The way it's been used is, for example, if I am, let's say a lot of my clients might be at a conference in New Orleans, and I want to target those clients. All I could do is put a geofence in that location. I love how Dan's head is like spinning
No,
right
I
now.
did this with Snapchat in 2016. I ran a geofence Snapchat thing at what's that conference they do in Boca Raton every year? Society of Clinical Research Sites.
Soccer.
Yeah. So I just played around with it. I did like a filter. You can do like a filter, but I tried to get as close to the hotel, like as tight as possible. There was overlap, but yeah, like it worked. People like discovered
Yeah.
because they're using Snapchat. This wasn't
Right.
Facebook or Google. This was
Right.
Snapchat. So how many of those people at the conference actually using Snapchat? Not that many, but I was curious, so I did this.
Especially in
And
2016. But yeah,
yeah. So similar concept to that.
exactly right. Now imagine you do that in a more robust way. That's part of your actual marketing reach.
Yeah, we need to
You
do
can get
that.
a ton of patients with that.
The one I did was not as how you say, as accurate like the doctors, the patients for the specific doctor. The one I did was the age and the area where they live because it was for Alzheimer's. So it's kind of easier, but
Let's examine that, Monica. So you're trying to target patients who have Alzheimer's. So
so
what was the area you targeted? Where they live?
yeah. So we're a location where a lot of people with the same age were living.
But you see where that problem starts, right? So you don't actually. It wasn't targeted enough because you just went
Yeah,
for
that's
age.
what I was saying. Mhm.
Right.
So it was not that specific, but I went to the target group because I mean a lot of them have this condition, right?
Well, but
Uh,
there's a simple way to do that, right? If you could have, where is the doctor's office who treats Alzheimer's? Where's the neurologist's office? So instead
and
of
even
targeting where the house is, you could have targeted where the doctor is because that's where they have to go.
yeah,
And they're on their phone in the waiting room, like
I
an
actually
hour.
I actually did it backwards. Yeah, but it didn't. I mean, it didn't really work for me for us. So,
Well, it
but
couldn't have
maybe
worked, right?
your
Because you were in the
idea
wrong.
is even sorry.
It couldn't have worked. It was too difficult to search. You were bleeding money to false positives.
Exactly.
We gotta like run this around Hoag outpatient or UC Irvine outpatient.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it and I will tell you what happened.
Monica
Dan,
will try
every
it
time
too.
come on, I give you like this tip that no one's seen before.
That is a nugget,
Okay.
like because I've only done that with Snapchat, but geofencing, yeah, at a doctor's office. Brilliant idea, actually.
I know.
This is good. You can make like a whole company around this.
Yeah.
If anybody's watching, here you go. Here's your $1 billion business plan. Learn about
Thank you.
geofencing.
Thank you,
Go on
Darshan.
Coursera. Go on Coursera. Learn about geofencing. What is geofencing on Coursera? I'm sure there's courses. It's probably free. Maybe you pay $20. A guy's charging $11 to teach you how to be a healthy volunteer. So I'm sure you could find a course like this, and then make your business. Quarantine life.
Okay, so let's play out an example. If you were going to target for a healthy 18 to 34-year-old volunteer to participate in your study, where would you geofence?
Colleges.
Okay, that's not a bad idea. Which kind of colleges?
Like any college near my site. Like your standard college, where like there's broke college students.
So what you're targeting are economically disadvantaged people then?
No, they're students. They're not a disadvantage at all. Some of them parents are paying
You
for their.
literally economically disadvantaged.
No, broke students. They could be from wealthy families, but their parents aren't giving them more than they need to.
Yeah,
And
let's
they're
say
like, hey,
USC.
yeah, USC. You could do it right outside USC. Matter of fact, these
Where you
places
feeling
do this. They added these phase 1 clinics advertising colleges with flyers. I'm sure
But
they
is
do
that the
it out
fun
here.
part? Would you agree that that is not the smartest way to do it? Putting flyers out that people are going to tear off, not look at.
Yeah,
Instead
in
of
a 2020 world, no. In a 2020 world, no. But like in a 2005 world, yeah, that's a
maybe,
great strategy.
maybe. But I'm saying you can now avoid the scattershot approach.
That's right. That's right. Geofencing. This is good. I like this. Around the see, the problem with healthy volunteer study, they don't really have a problem getting patients, and they only need like a few.
Correct. No,
That's
I picked one, but let's say it was
Schizophrenia.
that's
Or
hard.
asthma.
Schizophrenia is hard.
now how would
Say
you
asthma.
A lot of these people don't even have cell phones, like and not the smartphones. They just have the flip phones.
Yeah, so how would you target them?
I don't know. Flyers.
I actually think they now. I mean, most of the patients that we have at the clinic that have schizophrenia, they know how to use their phone quite. I mean, they are kind of experts. Even the ones that really, I was surprised. Every single one, and some of them even have two phones because the phones are given to them for free most of the time. So I was surprised with that. I think actually they get a lot of phones now. I don't want to say too much information.
I like this
Yes,
geofencing
maybe.
idea.
Okay.
I like this geofencing idea.
Let's use an example of 18 to 40-year-olds for asthma.
Right.
Because
well, who would you target?
So I would use their strategy, like, hey,
Pulmonologist.
who's prescribing like the Advair or whatever, and then like
Buterol,
go there.
You just go to pulmonologist and you just target whatever the closest pulmonologist office are and geofence them.
Geofence, Rod, you can do this.
I tried it.
Okay.
I tried it once or twice. I just haven't figured it out.
What was your experience? You're done?
Yeah, I have to.
Gotta get ready to teach. Yeah.
Thanks, Monica.
So I'm teaching my class week 7. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
No, I absolutely think that geofencing is a good idea, but you got to be able to figure out how to do it too.
Right. I think you need to find the age. You need to find a lot of details before and be very specific, because I think if you don't put in all the characteristics you want, you're bleeding money at that point. So you probably don't want to be geofencing in Malibu because they probably aren't going to join your sites. So
what do you think, Chris? I see your wheels spinning.
Well, I was thinking more in terms of where there's caregivers involved would be a little bit more difficult. So, like, for example, Alzheimer's. You're not targeting the caregivers. So, would you still target the physician's office? I mean, I would assume they would be sitting there with the patient.
That's my thought process. You'd still target the physician's office because you still have to come for treatment, but it wouldn't be the patient who signs up. It'd be the caregiver going, this might be a good idea.
Right.
And you're using jujitsu, you're leveraging. They have to wait in the waiting room like an hour.
A week.
Yeah, the jujitsu. I need to start doing it before quarantine's over, like actually doing it. But yeah, they're waiting in the waiting room for an hour. Okay, and then most people are on their phones. Looking at whatever, Instagram, Facebook.
So, question: will that?
Go ahead, Jessalyn.
Okay. My question will be: will that same geofencing apply to just physicians, or can that be applied to like pharmacies where they have to go pick up their medication as well?
Pharmacies as well.
We should ask the pharmacist there, Sean. You put on your pharmacist hat.
Well, the problem with doing it to pharmacies is you'd still have all kinds of patients come, right? That's your problem. It doesn't filter enough.
Okay.
And see, I don't think pharmacies would be very effective because
Right.
me personally, if
Might
I'm
as
in
well park
line
at a
at the
grocery
pharmacy for 30 seconds, I'm not looking at my phone.
You're usually in and out, and then if you're not in and out, like if it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes at the longest, you're not going to stay there for an hour. You're going to leave and come back. But if it's 20 minutes, you're going to like look at the aisle. So what is here? I'm going to buy some baseball cards or some candy bar. But we have advertised on the back of pharmacy bags, but it hasn't worked. It wasn't that effective, but it
Not
was,
targeting.
yeah, it's not
Wasn't
targeted enough.
effective.
If you're going to do this targeting, it needs to be somewhere that people are going to actively use their phone.
Correct.
A doctor's
So they're
office.
stationary and using your phones.
Correct.
Here's what I don't know in geofencing. Can you set it up so that it's people who are in this location or have left this location within the last 15 minutes?
Oh, that'd be good. That
That
would
would
be
be
good.
good.
But
I
even
don't know.
then, I'm not sure exactly how useful that is because it's still too, like in the pharmacy, you'd have diabetics going in, you'd have pulmonary patients going in, everything you can think of. So it's not sort of focused enough. So I don't think that'd be the greatest use of your money.
Right.
Okay.
Plus, if you're doing like a medical building, you're not going to be able to geofence an office. So if it's a medical building, there's like hundreds of offices. So a lot of like your asthma ads are going to get seen by diabetic patients. They're going to get seen by everyone in that building.
Which may not be the worst thing if you still go, you know what? I want 18 to 34-year-olds. So this way, most asthma ads are really going towards younger people, right? So people who are going in for the cataracts or people who are going in because of Alzheimer's, they automatically get filtered out using the other filter.
That's a
Why couldn't
brilliant
you do
idea.
Why couldn't you do like, for example, I'm a standalone within a multi-physician's office. So why couldn't I do 4 of my studies looking for low testosterone slash
Yeah.
asthma and diabetes?
You
Yeah.
just run different geofences, or you'd use the same geofence but different ads because you want different landing pages for each one. You don't want them all coming to the same site because then they'll be confused. Why am I here?
Not necessarily, though. I think it could still work. Like if like Rod's saying, hey, these are the studies we're recruiting for. Here's our landing page. Someone's going to get a hold of you with your appropriate study.
You could, but I find people respond best if they don't have to think. If they
Yeah,
go, "This is for me, and I've landed the right place. I want to give you the right information."
you're right. You're right. I'm just trying to make this practical for the low techy people out there because
Like me.
yeah, because it's hard enough. I mean, like me, like this is not easy stuff to pull off. It's like, I mean, you could take a
Well, I'll
course.
give you a plug for my marketing guy who does this kind of stuff. So if you need that, reach out to me. I'll connect you to Major. He does this
Major's
kind of
not happy that you just told everybody what he does.
No, Major's happy because he might get clients out of it.
Okay.
Let's give Major.
I will contact you on that.
Okay, fair enough.
If you want to get a hold of Major, contact Darshan.
There you go. I'm now Major's agent.
That's right. Major might be getting a call from us soon. But I do like the
Fair
idea, though. I do like Darshan. Yesterday, a lot of people were. Yesterday, we were talking about people trying to break into the industry, and I don't know if you get this on LinkedIn too, but like me, Sherry, people that have been on LinkedIn and like are posting. People who are trying to break into the industry reach out, and that's normal. You should. I would probably reach out also.
Yeah.
But they're coming about it like almost like they're just asking, and they're not providing value. So something like this, where somebody can learn how to geotag. I mean, if somebody messaged me on LinkedIn about that and said, "Hey, I'll do it for you for free if you let me be an intern. If it works, pay me. If not, just let me intern." I would do that. And I think a lot of people would too. It's just the approach.
And to find the guy to get a free intern out of it.
That's right. That's right. But seriously, because like,
It's
what
a
else?
win-win situation.
Exactly. So the mindset is off because just asking and begging, like, yeah, you could win the lotto too. That could work, but more likely you're just gonna get ignored. Even from the people that truly want to help. Like, you need to provide some kind of value.
Right.
So here's what I'd say. My experience is that people who reach out, and this is a whole other conversation. I should have left like 11 minutes ago. But my experience is that people who reach out via LinkedIn are often doing the easiest thing they can, and they aren't thinking beyond, I want this.
Yep.
What they really need to start thinking about is, am I the right person to ask? So I have no problem with someone reaching out to me if I can help them. But I'll get students who reach out going, so pharmacy students who will see my background, see I'm a pharmacist, and go like, oh, I want to join industry. To them, the word industry means anything in pharma. Well, that's a massive industry. You've got to be a little bit more focused. You've got to sort of know what you need to ask. You need to figure out, for example, if you're looking for clinical trial stuff, I'd probably reach out to Dan and go, Dan, can you help this guy? And you've done that before. Actually asked me, like, can I help someone out? And I'm perfectly happy to do that. On the other hand, someone who hasn't done any effort, like if you go to Quora, you'll see those questions where they'll be like, how much did this drug make last year, whatever it was? And you're kind of going, it's a Google search. So if I can do the Google search, you can do it as well. And I find those to be not meaningful. Like I've literally had barbers from Vietnam try to add me on LinkedIn. I still don't know why they were trying to add me. So there are these people, and again, I'm sure you know them. They're called Lions, I believe.
Yeah, what is that? I don't even know what that is.
I think it's basically LinkedIn online network, and what they're really trying to do is get as many followers as possible for no good reason. They just want to say that they have a lot of followers. I think it's stupid. Like, you know what? I want to know, because I get embarrassed when people go, "Oh, you seem to know this person. Can you connect me?" And I go, "I have no idea." Because for some reason, when Obama was running for president, I added him, and he added me back. So people think they know Obama. Like, obviously, I don't know him.
Damn, those shows connected. Introduce me, man. I'm gonna message you on LinkedIn. Do you know Obama? Can you introduce me?
I know. I have Hillary, Obama. I think I have Trump. Like, I don't really care. It was just adding them, and they're running for president. They'll add anything.
Go ahead, you.
I hear what you're saying. I just accept anyone who connects, and then I'll have people reach out to me and say, "Hey, did you know this guy did this, and like he's in jail now?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know who this guy is." It happens a lot.
Does it? My favorite LinkedIn story is there's a guy who literally copied my entire profile, like every single job.
Wow.
So, every job, time of the job, job description.
Wow,
and
you need a blue check
his
mark.
name.
You need to ask LinkedIn to give you that verified profile.
I actually, what's his? It's his name. Something really like amazing. It's like Troy McLeod, and I'm like, come on. First of all, Troy, yes, that's a fake picture you've put up, obviously. And
You've been fished.
Yep. That's what happened.
Wow, thank God that has not happened yet. But I guess
Not
anything.
that you know of. The only reason I know is because LinkedIn said I should add him. He seems to work at the same jobs as you, so you might know.
God! Wow. So maybe it has happened to all of us then.
Exactly.
Be careful, guys. Be careful.
So, anyways, I should probably get going anyways.
Yeah, Monica's gonna teach at 3:30, and if we don't get off, we're gonna have her students coming on here, and then we have to teach them. So
cool.
I don't know what to tell them. I'm gonna tell them to go geofence people.
Well, last time we spoke about Edgar, and you were impressed by that one.
Yeah, I was impressed by that. I actually played around with it quite a bit. That was years ago, like 2 years ago.
That was a few years ago.
3 years ago. But yeah, like I was amazed at how many doctors we were able to get. But now, like geo-targeting, instead of reaching out to those doctors, but looking for PI, maybe you reach out to them too. But yeah, like LinkedIn, here's an example. I would message one of those doctors on LinkedIn and use one of my LinkedIn premiums, and I don't put anything fancy. Just message them, hey, do you want to do research? This is what I do. Most of them ignore, but every now and then, like 1 out of 10 say, hey, that's cool. Well, what is it? And then we talk.
See, I think that's fair when you're offering something in exchange.
Not just
Tell me something more than like, don't add me and just be like asking me for something.
Yeah.
Tell me what I get out of the conversation as well.
Or even worse, Hope your family's well during coronavirus. By the way, here's what I'm selling.
Yeah,
Hey,
exactly.
what's the coronavirus?
It's
Yeah.
like, you don't know if my
Oh,
family
yeah.
died. Maybe I lost everyone in my family. Like, what, you know, what kind of,
I
like,
want to have someone respond back with exactly what you just said. My entire family died. Thank you so much for asking.
Oh
If-
my gosh.
if it wasn't for karma, I would do that, but I don't want to play around with that.
I know, right?
That's mean.
Yeah,
Well, they deserve for sending a random message like that.
I get that a lot now on coronavirus. Hey, hope you're all well. You know, it's like, you don't know me. Like, how? Yeah, of course, we hope everyone's well, but you can not say that. It's not. You don't need to say that.
Right. Okay. I gotta
Anyways,
get going.
guys, it was a pleasure, Darshan and everybody else. Let's do this
Yeah,
again
we're
on
off to
Monday.
Darshan.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
See ya.
Take
All right.
care.
Have a good one. Good weekend.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.